Good afternoon, everyone. This is Susan Patrick with Stam on Ness, and welcome to our webinar today, Powering Project Success. We welcome you to our webinar and just kind of want to walk through some housekeeping items before we kind of get started. So first of all, please submit your questions in the questions box. We do not monitor that chat box. If you do have the chat available, we don't check that out through the event. Put your questions in the questions panel. The other thing that I want to mention, as always, all lines are muted upon entry into the meeting. That way we don't get that crazy background noise that you seem to get in a lot of these web conferences or GoToWebinars or Zoom meetings. So make sure that you know that you can't speak to us at this point. Also, we're going to answer as many questions as possible during the meeting today. If we do not get to your question during the meeting, we will make sure that we do follow up with an email to you just to make sure that we get everything covered for you. A couple things regarding Stam on Ness. I noticed a lot of familiar names in the webinar today, a few new ones, but a lot of existing ones. So just some information about Stam on Ness. Again, we are a multi-disciplined professional services firm. We have over 60 years in the A&E space. We also work with a lot of professional services firms. Our particular group, or actually our company in general, has team members across 10 states, and we serve clients in 45 plus states. I think we even have a few in Canada. And we are one of Deltek's top resellers in the country. We are a Deltek Platinum Partner. Just a little bit about the presenters today, and I don't know that I would exactly call myself a presenter, but I am Susan Patrick. I'm the Director of Client Solutions here at Stam on Ness, and your main presenter today is Mike Williams. He is a Senior Solutions Advisor, works very closely with our clients on Vision and Vantagepoint and looking at how those solutions can kind of assist you in your organization. So you're going to see a lot of great stuff today from Mike. And as always, we have Kaylee just kind of keeping us both on the straight and narrow. So Mike, you want to kind of walk through this a little bit?
Yeah, perfect. So thank you for that introduction, and hello everyone. I'm excited to show you Vantagepoint. And for those that don't know, Deltek Vantagepoint, it's a fully integrated solution that was designed specifically for the needs of professional service firms to help you manage your people and projects more efficiently from start to finish. And we like to use this graphic to help illustrate what we mean when we say like the life cycle of your project, really managing things from start to finish. So if you look up at the top of that wheel, the 12 o'clock position, marketing, using the system to develop and track marketing campaigns, as well as keep your clients and prospects engaged, tracking those various touch points. To the right, using the in-system pipeline to track the progression of your leads and opportunities. So that can help eliminate the need to track any information in another system or Excel. And Vantagepoint has a built-in proposal engine, so that way you can develop engaging, targeting proposals, and you don't need to be a graphic designer or a programmer to use it. And then from there, you can seamlessly convert your opportunities into projects. So you don't have to lose any history or manage duplicate records. And when your team is ready to enter time and expense, they can do that from anywhere, and that information will automatically flow to the projects in real time. And that allows your project managers to take a more proactive approach in managing their projects, so that way you can understand what's going on and even understand your future resource needs. So we'll touch on that a little bit today as well. And then your accounting team can work in harmony with the project managers to review invoices electronically, so that way you can collect your payments faster, helping you increase your cash flow, and then ultimately analyzing the overall performance. So whether that's at a project level, by a project manager, or the financial health of your organization as a whole. And just like it says up top with Deltek, it all just works to really give you that 360-degree view of your business, so that way you can power those projects successfully. And that's really our goal today.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you. And so just before I kind of turn things over to Mike, just a quick reminder, put any questions that you have in the questions panel so that we can kind of monitor that and get those questions answered today. And just to kind of follow up, just a contact page here for Mike and myself. If you need anything, have any questions, feel free to outreach to either Mike or myself, and we'll be certainly happy to help you. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn this over to Mike as the presenter, and he's going to kind of walk you through the system. So Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to present today.
Oh, so you're very welcome. So let me know everyone can see my screen. Let me just do a quick check, make sure I'm sharing the right one.
Yep, absolutely. I can see your dashboard. Perfect.
All right, fantastic. So I'm live. I'm in Vantagepoint 3.0. And kind of like we illustrated in that wheel, I'll say there's 5 categories that we're going to be hitting on today. So showing you how you can use the system to make decisions faster, improve the accuracy and timeliness of your timesheets, forecast potential revenue, increase cash flow, and just all around successfully work remotely. So that's our goal. And a high-level tech overview just to make sure we're all on the same page with Vantagepoint. So it can be hosted in the cloud or on-premise, depending on what your specific needs are, though I will say the trend has definitely been in favor of the cloud. And as you might notice by looking at my screen, it's predominantly a browser-based solution, and it uses the latest in HTML5 technology. So it's very powerful, and HTML5 is ideal for web-based applications, unlike other systems that might be using something like a PHP type technology. And today I'm accessing this through Google Chrome. That's my personal preference. You don't have to use Chrome. Vantagepoint supports all of the common web browsers. So Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Safari, they're all supported. And because of the browser-based nature, it has cross-platform support. So that means you can manage your projects from a Windows PC, from a Mac, or on the move from a mobile operating system like iOS or Android. So all of your bases are covered. And for those of you that are familiar with Vision, so our existing Vision users, this is the same powerful system that you know today. It's just been updated. And by deploying that new HTML5 technology, Deltek was able to reimagine the user interface to give you a smoother, more user-friendly experience, as well as enhancing a lot of areas such as the dashboards, billing, and project review. And I'm going to be getting into all of that stuff in a little bit. So you can see my mouse moving around. With Vantagepoint, it uses role-based security. So the information you see is based on who you are, the role you play within your organization, as well as the specific security rights that are assigned to that role. So for today's purposes, I'm signed in as an administrator. If you follow my cursor on the left-hand side, this is the navigation panel. So I have access to everything that the system has to offer. At your organization, you're probably going to have folks that just have timesheets and expense reports. On the project side, they'll probably have access to the projects hub. And then, of course, your accounting team will have access to the accounting areas, billing, transaction entry, things like that. So it's role-based. It's designed specifically for who you are and, again, the role you play within your organization. And while I'm going over the navigation, it might look a little different. Well, it definitely looks a little different than it does in Vision today. I want to point out this box up here that says 55. So this is my notification center. Again, when we're talking about making informed decisions faster, this is going to alert you that you have specific action items. So an activity reminder. Maybe you need to approve timesheets because you're in a supervisor role or you're in that management position, as well as notifications letting you know that things have been done, such as a batch billing run, or a new opportunity has been awarded to a project. And we'll get into that in a little bit as well. The other area in navigation I want to point out is right above my cursor. So that little white arrow, that's indicating that there's another level to that dashboards area. Same thing with firms and projects. And when I click into that, now I can see that my role has 3 dashboards available to me. Now, in your organization, you may have many dashboards that focus on very specific areas. So dashboards, they're really designed to give you real-time access to the critical information you need and depend on. And the goal of that dashboard is to simplify your routine tasks, improve efficiency, and track actionable metrics, again, so you and your team can make informed decisions faster. Now, real quick, if you like ideas or you need some ideas on how to best leverage a dashboard, I highly suggest watching our recorded user group meeting from last week. My colleague, Barbara Bunting, she gives great best practice advice and provides some real world dashboard examples. So big shout out to her and the rest of our consulting team. They put on user group meetings for free every month. So definitely check those out if you're looking for other ways to expand the use of dashboards or if you're brand new to it. So with that, I'll jump right in. So we're looking at a pipeline dashboard. This is really designed for someone that needs to track opportunities and engagements. And they're kind of the same thing. So it just depends on your terminology. Essentially, anything that has happened before the project has been awarded. So that's what we're looking at on this dashboard. The first one I want to point out, we're looking at your total pipeline broken out by stage. So across all of your opportunities, in our terminology, the life cycle of that opportunity goes lead, qualified, proposal, and shortlisted. You don't have to have that same terminology. Yours might be a little different, but just to illustrate how you can track the progression of your opportunities. And the value here is, as someone that's responsible for driving new business, you want to know what your pipeline health is. So right now, we're pretty even. Just looking at this pie chart, you can kind of estimate that maybe 25% of each category makes up the pie chart. You know, maybe qualified and shortlisted are at 30, and the others at 20, something along those lines. Now, if you had leads that were a small little sliver, same with qualified, and that's going to let you know that, hey, we need to drive some new business. We don't have a very full pipeline. So that's the benefit for tracking information like that. Now, if you're responsible for managing a team that's developing business for the organization, this one here in the center is probably something that you would want to have. So now we're looking at opportunities that are 80 to 90% probable. So those are the ones that are most likely to close. They would fall into that shortlisted category. And you can see Dustin Parks, he has 2 opportunities totaling about 2.5 million. On the other side, we have Tina. She's an all-star. She has 7 opportunities totaling about 13.5 million. So just giving you some visibility into what your team's working on. On the right, if you want to know, hey, what are the top 5 ones that are most likely to close? Again, the ones that are 80 to 90% probable. With Vantagepoint, you can give it big lists of information and it can parse those down automatically. So as new opportunities are coming in, right now our biggest one is 4.5 million. Let's say tomorrow you bring in a great opportunity, it's 8 million. Well, it's going to knock this one down and it's not going to show on this list. So the system is automatically updating that for you. You don't have to have top 5. If you wanted top 10, that same process would happen behind the scenes. And you can click on the name of the opportunity to get some additional information. So we can say, when do we estimate that this project is going to start? What's that estimated completion? Who's our project manager? And if we needed more details, if I clicked open in projects, it would pull up that specific record. So you can do a lot of things right from a dashboard without having to click around in the navigation, really minimizing the amount of clicks that you have to do within the system. The next area that I want to focus on is your pipeline at large. So we're looking at all of the opportunities within your organization. We can see the various metrics going across the top, identifying what we're reporting on, the name of the opportunity, the estimated start date. How much is that opportunity? What's the likelihood that we're going to close it? And then the system automatically calculates the estimated fee times the probability to give you that weighted fee. So that's based on the percentage or the probability that you're going to win that. Now, if we just wanted to focus again on the ones that we're most likely to win, let's say you're going into a meeting with your residential team and they're asking you what to expect in the next couple months. Well, you can click this filter icon right here, and now you have live filtering. So if I just wanted to type in residential, now it's parsing out those specific residential opportunities, giving you the information you need. And again, if you need more details, just by clicking that opportunity name is going to take you directly into that record. And there's a lot of benefits by managing a proper pipeline and keeping things up to date. I think the biggest one is just knowing what you have going on so that way you can do some forecasting. So you might want to know, what is our estimated revenue of new opportunities in the next 6 months? So a report like this would be fantastic to have. The main thing you want to look at is your estimated fee, the estimated start date, and what the system does. It's also looking at the estimated completion date, and it's allocating that estimated fee in this scenario evenly across your time frame. So you'll notice the ones that have an estimated start date in August, they're showing up in August, and then the ones in September are starting in September, and it's just allocating that evenly. So you have a good idea of the revenue that you'll be generating from those opportunities. And that's just one example of how you might want to allocate the revenue. There's a couple different ways that you can do that within the system. And really, I'm just kind of scratching the surface of what's possible when it comes to a dashboard like this. We see many clients expand their use and take a more analytical look at the data. So they're looking at the projects that are winning over a given period, what the win rate is, and using that information to determine where to focus their business development and marketing efforts. So you can glean a lot of great information from a single screen like this. So now let's take a look at the My Projects dashboard. So as this is coming up, this is designed for someone that has more of a project management role to help them manage the health of their projects, and again, to continue to drive that project success. So at the top are your upcoming milestones. So this is a nice visual guide for tracking important project deliverables and events. So if I want to focus in on a specific milestone, I can click the blue dot. It's going to tell me the name of that project, the date of the milestone, and then if there's any description. You don't have to have a description, but it is nice just to give a little explanation as to what's going on. And again, clicking more is going to take you directly to that project record. So it helps keep everyone on the same page, nothing slipping through the cracks. No one can say, oh, I wasn't aware of what's going on, or I didn't realize that deadline was approaching. Having a dash part like this on your dashboard really keeps that communication central. And below is the project watch list. Here, again, you're just focusing in on those projects that you're responsible for managing. You don't need to see everything, just the ones you're engaged with. So I have 4 basic metrics going across the bottom. And as I mouse over, it's going to isolate that bar. It should help kind of stick out to you. And if you put your mouse over any of the columns, any of those bars, it'll give you the dollar amounts. And this is an interactive dashboard. It's designed to give project managers the information at a high level so they know what's going on. So if they need to understand maybe spent versus billed, just by deselecting the contract amount and the received, now they can do a little more analysis. And hopefully right away, a project like Fountain Green is jumping out to them. And they can say, wow, we've spent significantly more, almost double, it maybe even a little more than double of what we've billed. So that's a red flag. It'll help bring attention to those at-risk projects so that way they can have some intervention, be a little more hands-on, and catch things before they get too serious. Below, for those PMs that need to understand what their job-to-date hours are against what's been budgeted. Very similar, using the graphic to illustrate that picture. So in the gold bar is budgeted, blue is job-to-date. So the Baltimore Industrial Park, you can see they've really blown out that budget. They've exceeded it. Maybe there's just a change order pending. Maybe they need to get a change order in place or talk to the client, figure out what the options are. Again, you want to catch this before it happens. And this is just a nice graphical way to do that. On the right, if your PMs are responsible for helping to collect AR, this is something that you probably want on their dashboard. It's showing outstanding AR by project in order of kind of your worst offenders to the least. So the ones at the bottom, these folks are current. The Molten Ridge Hotel, they've got about almost 86,000 in outstanding AR. So you want your PMs to be aware of what's going on in their projects And this is just a nice way to bring that information to them without having to run any additional reports. Now, I know not every project manager is going to be into the nice graphics. I personally like them. If you have a project manager that's more of a numbers person, they might want to have this watch list dash part on their dashboard. Here we're looking at similar metrics going across the top. You can see we've added some remaining hours, the unbilled hours, and then some financial information, revenue and profit. And you can also drill down into this dash part to get that lower level information. So the projects that have phases and tasks, or tasks and subtasks, depending on your terminology, are going to be visible with those black arrows. So right above my cursor, if I go ahead and click into that, it's going to expand the lower levels of the project. And now I can see, okay, schematic design, we have no remaining hours. That's a profitable phase. That's what we like to see. And hopefully you're noticing these red cells stick out. That's what we want to do. We want to draw attention to very specific metrics so that way, again, your PMs are aware of what's going on in real time, not a month later. So this is looking at remaining hours, and it's a really straightforward formula. It's saying if remaining hours are less than or equal to 1, turn the cell red. So pretty straightforward example. You can use your imagination how you might want to leverage conditional formatting on some other metrics in a dash part like this. And you can also make the whole row turn red if you really need to draw attention if something's kind of gone completely off the rails. So again, just more ways to help your PMs make those more informed decisions faster. And I pointed out up top earlier that the notifications, you can also use the system to have like workflows and alerts. So if remaining hours did drop below 1, maybe it makes more sense to push them an email or to push them a notification. So you guys can determine that business process that works best for your organization, and the system's here to help facilitate that. All right, so next we want to take a look at the accounting dashboard. This is more for someone in a finance role or an executive that needs to understand the financial health of the business. So as this one's loading up top, key financial metrics, it's really designed to give you that high-level overview of what's going on. So it's got some year-to-date information, year-to-date revenue, year-to-date expenses, and profit. To the right is a trending dash part. Now keep in mind, I'm working in a demo database. Some of the numbers by now you've probably seen, oh, they look a little funky. The dates are a little different. So we're living in the past. I want this on here though, just to illustrate that you can have those trending reports. So looking back the last 12 months, looking back the last 6 months, that's available to you within Vantagepoint. And again, I've chose some basic metrics here. We're looking at the billed amount, comparing it to what's been received. You could have profitability, revenue. Again, kind of use your imagination for the areas that your team is currently focusing on, and how can you make that more apparent to them without having to run all those one-off reports. So that's the goal with something like this. AR, especially nowadays, is really on a lot of people's minds. It might be helpful to know who your top 10 at-risk clients are. And that's what this dashboard's doing. So if we mouse over, we can see that the Adam group, they're a really bad offender, almost 900,000 in outstanding AR. If we want to dive into those details, this report on the right-hand side is going to provide that information. So first off, we've got a nice chart at the top showing the dollar amounts and where they stand as far as time frame. Again, quick analysis, maybe 75% of your projects have AR that's over 61 days. So I can tell you that can be improved on. If we scroll down, now we can see the details. What are the companies making up those amounts? So here's the big one. We have the Adam group. We can see the balance. We can see the time frames. And by expanding it, now we can see the specific projects that are making up the amount. And it looks like that big chunk is sitting on one project. Now, if you need a PM to get engaged and you want to tell them, hey, it's this invoice, reach out, find out what's going on. Why is the client not paying this bill? Now I can see the invoice number the date of the invoice, and again, that dollar amount. And from there, if I needed to drill in to see more specifics, I could by clicking on that dollar amount. So we just want the things that you use that you need to be aware of on a daily basis front and center. That's the goal. And at the bottom, I have an income statement and a balance sheet. Nice to have, especially if you're on the accounting side. So just by viewing 3 dashboards, you've been able to understand what opportunities you have coming in the door, the health of the projects that you're responsible for managing, and the financial health of your organization. So it's pretty impactful. There's a lot of range, a lot of flexibility using dashboards. So again, just 3 kind of basic examples. So from here, what I would like to do is focus on the opportunity side. So I have another tab open. You can access it through the main menu if you wanted, just to kind of make things easier in the demo environment. I've had this one open. Quick background on opportunities. So for those existing Vision users, our current clients, opportunities and projects have been combined. So that's a little different, and they did that to streamline how you manage your project lifecycle. So there's no more managing things in 2 different places. When an opportunity is one, it's 2 clicks, and then you can update it to a project. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. This left-hand side, this is your project summary, information like the project number, what type of project. We have this one labeled as commercial. You would use your own terminology. You define what project types make sense to your firm. And this is the stage. So this is really how you're driving the progression of your opportunity through your pipeline. So it's currently on shortlisted. If this was a awarded project, I just found out that they signed the proposal, they're ready to move forward, I would just click awarded, hit save. This would update. It would have a nice green background. It would say awarded, letting me know that this is no longer an opportunity. This is a project that's ready for us to start working on. And at the bottom, these are the opportunity details. So this is where you're entering that estimated fee and updating that probability. And then the system is doing the work from there to calculate that weighted fee. And if you're doing some of that analysis, wanting to understand, okay, well, where are our opportunities coming from? The source is indicating that. So this one is from a public RFP. Maybe you have other options within your system, such as like a trade show or existing clients, just to kind of give you some examples. And notice we're on the overview tab. So standard information, the project name, who is your client, a nice project description and location. And like I mentioned before, when we were covering that wheel, within Vantagepoint, there is a proposal engine that allows you to develop really engaging proposals. So what it does, you select, okay, what project do I want? What fields, like project description, and it's drag and drop. So I'll bring over an example. I'm not a graphic designer by any means, but I was able to pretty effortlessly create this in Vantagepoint. So you can have boilerplates that capture things like your firm background. So items that you use over and over again as you're producing proposals. Then it's going to come in and grab those specific project summaries. So again, the project name, what's the location, a project description. And if you want to add additional details, you have the ability to do that. So here we're looking at a challenge, an approach, and results. And again, those are just drag and drop. It's extremely easy to create engaging proposals just like this. So that's all I had for an opportunity record. Now let's take a look at the project side. So we'll be working with a opportunity that has been awarded. So I'm just going to close out of this tab. So now we're in the Projects Hub, the same exact navigation that we were just on, but now we're looking at an awarded project. And you can easily identify that. You see it's big and green. It says awarded on it. If we look at the stage, again, confirming it's an awarded project. So within your Project Hub, you have a couple areas that you can work on. Every project has its own dashboard. So this is where we can see the upcoming milestones that are specific to this project record. Again, helping to keep everyone on the same page so nothing is slipping through the cracks. You can see some financial information. What's your aged AR? Here, this project, it's current. That's what we like to see. We can see the billings, what's been paid, and what's been unpaid. Same with aged unbilled labor. So right now, we've got about 8,000 in unbilled labor sitting out there for over 120 days. So we've got some time. We need to generate an invoice. And a little later, I'll be showing how we do that. At the bottom, we have some project plan information. So project planning allows you to plan your projects and labor, expenses, and consultants through your work breakdown structure. You're not required to plan your projects, but it is a great way to ensure your projects are being completed on time and within budget. So if I put my mouse over this black column, this is showing me job to date information, labor, expenses, and consultants. So what you've spent so far on the project in billing. So I'm circling this area with my mouse. You can also view this information in cost, depending again on your role security. So if you can see cost, this will be available. If you can't, you will only see things in billing. All right, the next area I want to hit on is project review. So this is essentially your project income statement. It provides you with a real-time look at the job-to-date performance of your project, and you can review this information through the work breakdown structure. So as soon as an employee is hitting save on a timesheet, this information, job-to-date billings, is getting updated. Just like the other dashboard area, you can also view this in costs. When you do that, notice the key indicators at the bottom are going to update. So now we can understand what's our profitability, what are our multipliers. And right now we're looking at this at the project level, but like I said, you can drill down through your work breakdown structure. So just clicking that icon right there, now you can see the lower levels of your project. And if we expand again, then you can see the task level. Keep in mind, demo database, so my phases and tasks are named pretty easy, just to make sure everyone can follow along. You don't have to have your phases and tasks labeled like this, just an example. So I'm going to switch it back to billing real quick. And I want to point out this area right here. So if you need to drill down and see specifically what's being worked on your project, now we can see those labor charges. So we can drill down into Courtney Sharp, see the specific dates that she was working on the project, how many hours, what does that billing amount equate to, and then if there were any timesheet comments. So the comments that we have in the demo system are pretty basic, but any comments that they would enter for that line item would show up here. So project review, a really powerful screen, especially if you're managing that project day to day and want to understand what happens as soon as an employee is saving a timesheet. So it all flows together. All right, from here, we'll go back to the project screen. This is that same area that I was showing you when we were looking at opportunity. So very similar information. We've got all the project summary on the left-hand side. Now I want to take a look at milestones. So this is what's driving the milestone for the project-specific dashboard, as well as that PM dashboard that I showed you earlier. So to add a milestone, it's very easy. Click the Add button, select the date, the milestone type, and then add any notes if you need to do that. So a perfect way to keep everyone on track. Files and links. Using this tab allows you to upload uneditable files and documents. So for example, a contract, something that you want to memorialize as it stands. You're not editing this, you're not making changes. It lives on the project record. Now the links area is a little different. So if we were to add a link, that would be something from Dropbox or an FTP or your in-house server. So you're just putting that link path there and then the item will show up. The downside with links, if the link changes, if it gets updated and no one remembers to update that path here, then it's broken and you won't be able to access that information. So it's pretty typical that we see most firms just uploading the files and documents directly to the project record. The next area I want to touch on is contract management. So I noticed in our attendees list, we have a lot of accounting folks here. This is a great, effective way to track the evolution of your contracts. So you don't need to track contract information in Excel or on paper or in some other system. And as a project manager, you can stop kind of bugging the accounting team for those status updates. You can see everything directly on the screen. So if you follow my mouse, this is our first contract. It's the original. We can instantly tell that it's been approved. It has a signature, and we can see what makes up that contract. So the total contract's 80 grand, 75 is direct labor, and 5,000 is in reimbursable expenses. I also see that I have a change order. It's pending. It has not been approved. It has not been signed, and it's for 20,000 in direct labor. So just one example of how you might want to use contract management. If you really want to go to town, get in the weeds, add all the great detail to the lower levels of the project, you would do that in contract details, and then you can allocate those amounts again to your phase or task. So the next area I want to show is invoicing. So this is a rolling history of all the invoices that you have sent out for your project. So as a project manager, if you want to say, hey, what's the last that we invoiced this? When did we do that? Have they paid or not? This is going to give you that information. It has a nice graph when there is outstanding AR, so you can easily identify the length of time that it's been out there. And if you want to view that specific invoice, click the magnifying glass. This pulls up information. You can view the backup report, supporting documents. For those that might be unfamiliar, the supporting documents would be an example of a invoice receipt. If an employee has mileage or it's a rental or something like that, airfare, they can take a picture of the receipt with their phone, add it to their expense report, it gets approved, and it's tied back directly to the project. So I'm not going to do that. I've already got this open on my screen. So let me just drag over an example. So this is an invoice. It's been run, processed, and been paid. Here we're looking at a couple phases that we've billed out. You can see that there was a reimbursable expense. This is what a billing backup might look like. So we're categorizing it by the labor category. We can see those specific individuals that fall into that, how many hours, what their amount was, what that total rate was. And then for the supporting documentation, here is the invoice from Make 3D. They made some 3D models for us. There was 2 of them, totaling $1,000. So everything within Vantagepoint that's transactional, you can attach an image to it, a copy of that receipt, and it flows all the way through the invoicing. So pretty powerful. All right, so now hopefully you have a better idea of how you can actually manage your projects, view some invoices. The next I want to show is actually entering time onto a project. So I could certainly go over here if you're following my cursor, click main menu, navigate to a timesheet. Alternatively, I could go in this box that says find application and type in the word timesheet. And notice I'm not even spelling the word in completion. Vantagepoint utilizes type ahead searching. So it's grabbing everything that has the word timesheet. And now I can just select my specific timesheet and it's going to open it up. Now, again, we're kind of living in the past. In the real world, this is going to open up to your most current period. You can see on the left-hand side, these are all of the projects that I'm charging time to. The first couple ones are overhead projects. The last 3, those are my billable projects. I've got time over here. If I select that, it's going to say, yep, charging 1 hour of time. And here's my example comment. So timesheets are really straightforward. If I wanted to add another line item, again, it uses type ahead searching. So if I know that project number by heart, I could certainly enter that. In this scenario, I want to show you the type ahead searching again. So I'll just type in the word Palm. It's pulling up all the projects that are associated with that word. The Palm Beach Resort is the one I really want. So I'll select that. Then I'll select my phase. I want phase 3. And I'll do phase 3 task 2. So now I can go ahead and I can enter time for that specific project, phase, and task. So let's say I want to enter 2 hours, type in my example comment. I want to point out right above my cursor, that red asterisk to the right side of comment. That's letting me know that comments are required for this specific project. You don't have to have comments, but this is one way to kind of control that, again, to improve the accuracy, timeliness of timesheets. So I'll go ahead and hit save. And from here, if I would go back to that project review screen, I would see those 2 hours. It sends it over in real time, and I can understand that as a project manager and see how that's affecting the costing of my project. Now, if you are an organization that's billing units, notice the units tab right here to the right. So I'll click that. Again, I have my same projects. Those are automatically coming over. And for the units, I would just select the unit table, find that specific unit I want. So we're going to be entering some concrete tests. How many did I work on that day? I worked on 5. If I needed to add a description of the specific tests I did, or maybe if you're doing drilling, what area that you were doing that on, you would enter that description there, hit save, and now you have billable units that can show up on the invoice. So pretty cool. The other areas I want to show in timesheets, one is more for the supervisor, the managerial role. Maybe you have a policy within your organization that says, hey, everyone has to have a timesheet due by the end of the day. So we need daily timesheet entry. So you would go to your floor check. You would select the period that you want to report on. Maybe you want to report by the day and say, okay, who did not do their timesheet yesterday? Now, I don't have any data in here, but if I did, this area would update. And for those that have missing timesheets, I can just come in, select their name, go to other actions, and send them a friendly little reminder. Please update your timesheet. Send that out. They'll get that notification. And then the project managers, again, will have that real-time information so they can continue managing their projects. As an employee, a nice feature, request new absence. So if I want to go on vacation coming up 4th of July, I could submit some time that I want to take off. In this scenario, I already have, and it has been rejected. That's why it's in red. Notice I did take some time earlier on in the month. Now, if I wanted to add another request, I would simply request the dates, select my range, add a comment, hit submit, and that's going to fire it off to my supervisor or whoever is responsible for managing my timesheet. All right, so time and expense. The next area from here, oh, actually, let me show you the mobile view. I almost forgot. So I'm going to drag this over. This is my mobile phone, so that way you guys can get an idea of how in Vantagepoint you could enter time on the go. So I'll bring my phone over. I'm using an Android. The functionality works the same if you have an iPhone or an iPad for that matter. This is a dedicated app. It's not using the browser in this specific scenario. So I'll use my mouse to click. You can see this is a timesheet record. I've got some time for Benson. If I needed to add a new record, I would just hit that, select my project, select the phase, select the task, then go ahead, enter my time, enter a comment, click done, and you're finished. So you can enter time anywhere you're on the go, as long as you have a 4G or an internet connection signal, you're set. So just wanted to demonstrate that. Next, Kaylee, I believe we have a polling question. So I think we have a resource planning polling question. Let me set the stage real quick for that. So we find that more and more firms need a better handle on their employee workload, as it helps them to ensure that their team can successfully meet project deadlines. It also helps determining hiring needs, and it can reduce burnout and turnover. So with that, we do have a polling question for you.
Yep. So do you have visibility into what your future resources needs are? And that's trending, Mike. Looks like we have almost 40% people talking or responding, and looks like it's 50-50, or should I say 30-30-30, with yes, no, and unsure at this point, with yes and no really about 36-37%.
Okay.
So it looks like it's very split pretty evenly. Boy, I'm glad you're presenting today because my English is horrible. I think, Kaylee, we can go ahead and close that out. But yeah, it looks like it's split across the board.
Okay. So I just want to confirm you can still see my screen?
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So that's pretty interesting that it's split. Let me show you what the resource view in Vantagepoint looks like and why you might want to use it. So right now, this is the resource screen. I'm looking at all of the employees within my organization. I'm going to hide this little search area. And what it's looking at is a specific time frame that I've selected. So let me show you that criteria. I'm looking at it in weeks, the next 4 weeks. If you really wanted to plan out your projects in their entirety, you could do that in a monthly view for the next 2 years. So if you want to use this type of information to determine your hiring need, this is really helpful with that. So I'm going to scroll down. These are my labor categories. For me, that's how I like to organize the employees. So I have a specific team. They're my engineer level 2s. And within this view, I can understand what their utilization capacity is, maybe what they're scheduled. It's going to show me what their current utilization is. So that's the area that I'm circling right now. And that's based on the time frame that I have selected. And this is their target utilization. Notice it can be different for each employee, and this is found on the employee record. So now to the meat of what we're looking at. So the boxes indicate the level of utilization that each employee has for that specific time period. So very straightforward. Red box, they're overutilized. The blue is indicating underutilized. And the gray boxes, that's an ideal utilization. It's pretty close to that target. You can expand this down. So if we want to focus on Marjorie, we can see that she's on one project, but for each week, she's working about 36, 34 hours. And if we wanted more visibility into what specific phase or task she's working on, we can expand that, and now we can see that lower level information. So for my folks up here in blue that are underutilized, maybe it makes sense for us to shift some of this time so I can reassign it. Maybe I want to reassign this to Chris Jensen. I could come in and say, you know what, let's reassign 20% of Marjorie's time that equates to 31 hours over this time frame. And then I can find my resource and I would just simply reassign it. So that's one way that you could use resource planning. Again, another is to help identify that workload. So if I'm looking at my engineer level 1s, wow, I can see that this team is really overutilized. So maybe, again, it's just shifting some of their time to an employee that's a higher labor category. Now you can make that analysis on your project plan and determine what that would really look like in terms of profitability. Or maybe we're looking at this 6 months, 12 months in the future, and we have a meeting with the HR department and say, okay, we need to focus on some hiring because we have a lot of people that are experiencing burnout. We don't want turnover. Let's be proactive and hire some folks. Hopefully it's not a scenario where your team is very underutilized. In that case, it might be a call to the marketing folks trying to determine how we drive some new business. So lots of great ways that you can use resource planning and the resource view. And the other thing, if you're actually taking the time to plan out your projects, then in the timesheet, let me show you this. It's pretty neat. You can actually copy that time directly from the plan. So again, it helps improve the accuracy of your timesheets. So here I'm looking at William Berry. I copied it from plan so I can see that planning assignment. He's supposed to work on this project. This is the duration, and we have 20 hours planned for him. If I hit copy to timesheet, it's bringing in that project automatically. So he didn't have to remember the name. He didn't have to remember the project number, what phase and task he needs to work on. All he has to do now is enter how much time he's actually spending on the project. The system doesn't know that yet. I'm not sure it ever will. That's going down the path to Skynet. I'm not sure if we want that. But a nice way to, really improve the accuracy and, again, the timeliness of your timesheets. So from here, we've got some time on the project. Now it's time to invoice. So we've got about 10 minutes left. When it comes to invoicing, I have another polling question for you. So we find that firms are typically looking to automate their invoicing process so it can reduce the amount of time it takes them to approve and send invoices. That means fewer one-off meetings and paper chasing. So Kaylee, could you go ahead and pull up that invoicing poll?
Great. So one of the things that we find people looking at is room for improvement in their invoicing process and getting to more automation, less paper. And I don't know that we'd be surprised at how this is trending so far, Mike, where 77, almost 80% now are saying yes, only about 9% saying no, and 11% are not sure.
Okay, I think I'm a little surprised how high that is. I would probably guess that the work at home environment has probably changed the invoicing dynamic for a lot of organizations that might be used to printing out maybe an unbilled review, having a one-off meeting with that project manager or perhaps a team of project managers to say, okay, what do we need to bill? That's typically what we've seen in the past, and you can certainly do that with Vantagepoint. Actually, there's a couple ways, there's several ways that your organization can process invoices. You can do them as one-offs or as batches. Today, I'm going to focus more on the one-off area. I'm not going to save my timesheet right now. So this is an interactive billing screen. So this is where you can come in and you can see for that Palm Beach resort, the specific labor charges. You can make those modifications. So if we check these top three, maybe we need to hold these off. So if they're not ready to be billed yet, we're going to hold them for the next time. I'm not actually going to make that change. Hopefully you're not having to write things off. We know that does happen, so you do have that flexibility. The other thing too I was talking about before is expenses and units. Of course, they flow directly to the invoice. So if I go to the expense tab, I can see I do have an expense out here. If I want to understand, well, what was that expense for? I can see the document that was attached to that. So I'll just click the file name and it's going to pull up. This is that vendor invoice. So the PM, the biller knows exactly what's going on in the project. So I was talking about making it interactive. I'm going to go kind of quick. So your project managers can be involved in the process. There's an electronic invoice approval engine, and that really helps expedite that review process. So it allows you to review them electronically, comment, edit, and then finally approve the invoice. So empowering your PMs to take a more proactive approach, again, without having to schedule all those one-off meetings. So I'll kick off that process right now. I'm going to hit submit, pretend that I'm doing this as a biller, sending it to a PM, asking them to please review. So I'll go ahead and hit save, and that simple process is kicking off the review. So now I can, as a PM, I'm managing my project, I'm going to projects, and notice as this loads, you're going to see an indicator on the invoice and on the draft invoice approvals area. That's going to bring attention to the project manager, letting them know that, hey, there's an invoice sitting out here for $10,000 that we need to do something with that. It'll also hit the notifications area, again, letting them know that there's an invoice that they need to review. So they see the same screen that the biller does. They can come in here and say, yep, those first three, we do not need to bill those right now. In fact, we need to hold that time off. And at that point, instead of saying, hey, I'd like to kind of see how that impacts the final invoice look, they can do that live. So now they can see that invoice preview. It's going to generate, it's holding those 3 line items that I just selected, and now they can go in and make their comment. Held 3 items, will bill next go around. And once this comes up, they simply hit approve, and you can see those hours were held. It updated that total amount. If they want to see the billing backup, there it is. If they want to see what that vendor invoice was, it's right there. And again, we're in Vantagepoint 3.0. The next update, or excuse me, not the next update. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. In the future, Deltek has planned to allow you to mark up the PDF itself. So I know a lot of folks are using Bluebeam to mark up their invoices today. That functionality is coming to Vantagepoint. So you'll be able to, in this PDF view, come in and highlight areas, leave some commentary, and really making it that much easier to approve and process invoices. Again, like we were talking before, to help increase that cash flow. And I know that was a lot. It was very fast, but that's everything that I kind of have to show to everyone. We've got about 4 minutes left, Susan, so I'll kind of kick it back over to you. I appreciate everyone joining, and I hope I've been able to demonstrate the power of Vantagepoint and how it's really designed to help improve those day-to-day operations in your firm.
Yeah, great job, Mike. A lot of amazing information, and as you said, it's a lot to cram in an hour together. I know we only have a few minutes left, so we did have some questions through the questions panel. I think I was able to get them answered during our time, but there was a question about Outlook integration. Is there integration with Outlook, and is that something that you can potentially show us in the short amount of time we have left?
Yeah, let me navigate my Outlook and slide it on over.
Perfect.
So this is Outlook. Hopefully you're all familiar with Outlook. It does not work in Gmail. So for those of you that might be using Gmail, that's on the roadmap. It's not quite here yet. But essentially what Vantagepoint is doing is establishing a live connection within Outlook. So there's no syncing. There's no, anything extra you have to do. When records are updated within Vantagepoint, they're updating right here in your Vantagepoint Outlook window. So I'm on an email from James Franklin, and what the system does, it goes out, it identifies his email address, it searches your Vantagepoint database for a matching email address. So you can see things like recent activities, project history. If you get a new email in, I can easily add that as an activity to that specific project or opportunity record. And you can also, if you're working in Outlook day in and day out, and you want to search for specific records within your Vantagepoint system. So just by typing in morning, maybe I need to email Melissa Morning a quick email. I can click that. It's pulling it up on my other monitor. If I need to jump to a specific firm record or a project record, you have the ability to do that right from your Outlook screen. Again, eliminating the need to use a whole bunch of separate systems, go through lots of navigation. This is a live connection into your Vantagepoint database. So when you make updates here, it's affecting this. So really powerful. Glad that question came in. I absolutely love this and hope you guys do as well.
Yeah, it's awesome functionality, and they're just going to only make it better.
That's right.
So glad we had a minute to see that Outlook integration. So we're kind of ticking down here. I think we have less than a minute left, so we'll go ahead and kind of close things out for today. But again, I want to thank you, Mike, for pulling this together and presenting this to the group. And again, anyone, if you have any questions or you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to Mike or myself. We'll be happy to kind of assist you in any way we can. And we'll also have this recording posted on our website at some point. So if you do have any colleagues that you think would benefit from this, that missed our time together today, check out our website, because not only will this be up there, but a lot of other events, including our user group meetings that we do, are also up there that you can get on demand. So thank you again, everyone, and I wish you a safe and happy Wednesday. Thank you, Kaylee.